to start. But before we start, we want to acknowledge that this has been a good 3 day. Today being the last day, and a lot of learning yesterday, and today there is a lot that is at stake, beginning with the area of supply chain, going to traditional medicine, leadership in pharmacy, and also quite a lot of learning. And finally, we shall have a keynote address that will give us an idea of the next 50 years as we celebrate the 50 years that the School of Pharmacy in Nairobi has been doing. So we want to thank God for all of you that have been here physically and those of you who have been joining us. We urge you to keep on and also earn the CPD points that you need to continue practicing as a pharmacist. This morning, I want us to start with a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for bringing us together again as pharmacists who went through the University of Nairobi and are serving in different areas of practice in this nation and in this world. We thank you for the panelists that have done a wonderful job the last 2 days, and also those who are attending. This day we pray that as we begin, that you will be with us. You will help the panelists who are coming to continue the good job that was done by the others the last 2 days. And as we come to the end of this symposium at the end of the day, we will remember to thank you, for indeed it's been a wonderful time together, even connecting with colleagues and learning from one another. And this we ask in your name. Amen. Thank you very much. We want to invite Dr. Eva Maina to come and get on with it.
Thank you so much. This has been a very exciting 2 days. We hope we'll wind it down very well. I want to start by inviting a very important speaker. He has been a supply chain expert with 25 years of experience. He has worked in the private sector in multinational companies. He has also worked with meds. He has he has done a fellowship with the Global Supply Chain Group for 2 years in Spain. And he has also been involved in global health, focusing on supply chain with the big, international agencies like MSH, Chemonix, JSI, and is currently in consultancy and mentorship in the supply chain governance space. I want us to give a big welcome to Dr. James Mwenda to take us through this session.
Good morning. Yeah, thank you, Eva, for that introduction. And let me begin by acknowledging and really appreciating all of you who have been able to come or to join us this morning, and in a special way as the organizers of this symposium. This is something unique. This is something that brings us together and makes us feel as members of one family, the family of pharmacists. Yeah, so it's a great opportunity for all of us to reconnect. It's a great opportunity for all of us to learn. And in the past 2 days, there was a lot of learning. I was yesterday I was really surprised by the kind of learning, especially when we were talking about precision medicine. And I felt like there's quite a lot we don't know, especially when I learned that one medicine can cure a person and the same medicine will kill the other person. So to me, that was quite unique and a big take home yesterday. And it raised some curiosity in me, even to learn more. And I kept wondering, could food be doing the same to us? Well, I don't know. We need to find out. So this morning, I will be speaking about supply chain, because that has been my area of focus, my area of expertise over the last, I would say, 25 years. Yeah, I've worked for 25 years. Yes, I'm an alumni of University of Nairobi, School of Pharmacy. I graduated in 1997. I never got an opportunity to work with the government, and I've been looking for that opportunity. Maybe it will come now that at this age. So immediately I finished, I got into the global multinationals. I was one of the luckiest people. I was picked from my internship spot at the private wing in pharmacy. Remember Samedwita, who was talking to us here yesterday? He came there and he told me, I think when you finish, you need to talk to me. So from there, I got into the global multinational, and I remember Dr. Mwangia was our boss then, and others. But Sami was my direct supervisor. So I worked there for about 7 years. That is in Iran, Polenkrora, Aventis, became Sanofi Aventis. And I think at that point I jumped out, I joined Pfizer. And after being with the Pfizer for about a year, I felt like I really needed to do something different. You know, life in the multinational is it's very flashy. It's good life. Oh, my volume, or the volume of this. Okay, I need to come closer. Okay, I'm speaking like a politician, far away from the mic. Okay, so what I did is, and I'm telling you this to put things in context and for everyone to understand where I'm coming from, and even for the younger professionals to see a pathway that you can chart to sort of transform yourself and make yourself relevant to the changing environment. So after working with this very interesting and fresh environment, because there are a lot of goodies when you are young and you have a company maintained car, you're getting your car from the showroom, you are living in the best hotel in whatever town you travel to, whether within the country or outside the country. That is very good life. Very good for a young person. But after doing that for 7 years, I had to change. And I joined MENT. I felt like for once I should give back. I joined MENT. MENT is the Mission for Essential Drugs and Supplies. And I went in there as the manager in charge of distribution and customer service. Two things we are never taught in pharmacy school: distribution and customer service. So, and to find my way around, remember MENS is a big organization. It's second to KEMSA in terms of size. And we were, I think, serving about 2,500 customers within the country and outside the country, institutions. I worked with them for about 3.5 years, 4 years, and I felt like I was doing a job, which I think I was doing very well, but I didn't have the science behind it. I didn't understand what the basics to do it properly. And that's when I was lucky to get a fellowship with the Global Health Supply Chain Group in Spain, where I went, I joined the University of Zaragoza in Spain to study supply chain. The course then was Master of Engineering in Supply Chain Management. So this course is done in 3 parts. The first part, you do it at the University of Zaragoza. I did that. We were 25 students from across the globe. And Africa, we were 3 of us. So we did the first part in the University of Zaragoza in Spain. Then we went to the US, where we did supply chain strategy at the MIT. And then I had an interest in public health. So I went to the Harvard and did what we were calling humanitarian and public health supply chains. Then I came back home. When I came back home, I didn't go back to Men's because they told me I was overqualified for the job I was doing. They could not take me back, and my position had been filled after 2 years. So by good luck, I came back, went to MSH, and I found familiar faces, the name of Dr. Kusu, Dr. Mkoko. And I remember when I went for the interviews, they did not interview me because they told me, we don't know what to ask you. When are you ready to start the work? So I worked with them, and that's how I got into global health, public health. And so I started my supply chain work there, the strict supply chain work now, capacity building, system strengthening, because my area of expertise is in supply chain strategy. How do you design systems to deliver products to people? And so from MSH, I've worked with John Hopkins, that is the Japaigo. I've worked with the JSI, and I'm the one who founded In Supply. I'm so happy that In Supply today employs so many people. We were just 4 of us when we started. Then after that, I decided to do the real hardcore supply chain work, and I joined Chemonics. And every time I changed the organization, of course, I was rising. And this is especially the younger professionals should take note of how you grow quickly. So at Chemonics, I grew along the ranks and finished at the top as the chief of party. So now, yeah. And that was on my 25th year. And when you get to the top, I don't know what you do after that. Maybe after that, I will be talking to people, mentoring them, and trying to shape opinion in the supply chain space. So that's what I'm doing. I've done my 25 years of work, and now I am getting into a different area of providing mentorship to the younger persons, providing thought leadership in supply chain space, especially in the public health sector. So what I'm going to present this morning, therefore, is just a few pointers to what the supply chain is all about and what we can do as pharmacists, because it's an area we have not put so much attention to, mainly because it's not one of the core areas of focus in supply, at the School of Pharmacy. Yeah, so that's who I am. I didn't tell you I have an MBA, and I also have a master's in supply chain management. Now, our first round. So just to give you an idea of, or you give me that, I can still move the slides if you show me how to do it. So you said I have to be close to the mic? Okay, okay. No, whichever, so long as it can move. But it's not moving. Or do you want to do it for me? So ideally, we want to say ask ourselves what is supply chain, because people, I think it confuses people when you talk about supply chain, because supply chain, again, when you go to study supply chain like I did, you don't just focus on supply chain for medicines. Supply chain is a generic area, supply chain management. So today, if you give me fast-moving consumer goods, I will apply the same principles. If you give me vehicles or you give me whatever you do. So supply chain, will say, consists of all parties involved in fulfilling a customer request. And there are many. We start with upstream, what we call upstream supply chain. That is, we do dealing with inputs into manufacturing. We come to the suppliers, the people involved in the transportation, moving of those commodities from one place to another, how the commodities are then managed in warehouses, at the retail outlets and the customers. And then eventually we get to the customer. The overall objective of any supply chain system is to fulfill the needs of a customer. And it begins all the way from the top, from when you are thinking about the inputs into the product, when you're planning for production, doing the actual production, and managing those commodities, including the quality of them. So a supply chain, therefore, then involves three flows, I would say. We have the products moving from those who are supplying those products to the customers. Allow me to call them customers for now. And then when the customers receive those commodities, then they are expected to pay for them. So the second then flow is the flow of funds, which goes now in the other direction. And then what is moving in both directions is information, because there has to be information sharing between those who need those products and those who are supplying those products. Now, where am I supposed? I don't think this is. Okay, so the overall goal of any supply chain system is to ensure that you have the right products. Those products have to be at the right price, the right place. Yeah, isn't it? And we are now talking of also being of good quality. So we're talking about the products being at the right place, at the right time, and being a product of good quality. Now, to ensure that these products have those attributes, we are usually guided by what we are calling the supply chain management cycle, or the commodity management cycle, meaning that we have to do the right selection. We start there. We have to select the product, and we know the people, when we begin our panel, we'll be hearing from the panelists how the pharmacists have impacted selection of commodities. You have to select the right product. We build the formularies. We make sure that we have tailored those formularies to our context. Then there is the issue of procurement. And in procurement, what we talk about is we begin with the quantification. Allow me to stop this person from calling me. Sorry. Yeah, so when it comes to procurement, before you do procurement, you need to think about then how do you do demand and supply planning, beginning with the forecasting the demand, establishing the demand of those commodities. Then you do a plan, how much to buy, when to buy. Now, when you have done the procurement, again, the products are not to just be kept. You have to warehouse them properly. You have to ensure they are distributed to the end users. And now at the point of use, there is now what we call appropriate use. Now, at every stage along this management cycle, there is an element of quality assurance. We have to ensure that those products have meet the highest possible standards. That one is a minimum, and that these products, the quality is assured at every stage of the commodity management cycle. Now, this then cycle works within the established policies of the country. We had the regulator here yesterday, and they told us their expectations. It has to be, again, governed by the laws of the country. And this is mainly the work of the regulator. So what you are seeing, therefore, is a cycle that helps us to conceptualize supply chain. So supply chain is not just a point action, it's like a cycle. So you begin with the selecting the product and you finish with the use of those products, making sure there's appropriate use. And then at the middle, what you are seeing there is the management support. Management support includes information, RMIS, issues of records, and such other stuff. You said that. So where is the machine? I need to, okay, just move it for me. Next slide. Now, let us then look at a conceptual framework that helps us to see how supply chain relates with other health systems pillars. Now, we have 5 pillars that we talk about. We have governance and leadership. We have supply chain financing, human resources for health. We have infrastructure and information systems. Now, these pillars are the ones that then support our work in ensuring that we have the health products and technologies. That is all that I've mentioned, the issues of forecasting, selection of those commodities, procurement, and inventory management. And then this ensures that we get quality service delivery. You all know that we keep saying in supply chain, if you have no products, then you have no services, isn't it? You cannot provide healthcare services without HPTs. And that's where supply chain comes in as a very critical area of focus, because the products that we use as the tools to help us manage healthcare or provide quality services must be delivered, must be made available as quality products on a timely basis and at the right price. So that's really the framework that helps us to connect between health system strengthening, health systems, and then the supply chain. Where does the supply chain come in? When it comes to governance, we talked about stewardship, and I'll be mentioning a few things about that. We have, today, this country has a very good coordination system from the national level, where we have DHPT, the Directorate of Health Products and Technologies, and then downstream at the counties, we have what we call health products and technology units. Now, when it comes to supply chain financing, you all know the challenges that we continue to face in this country. Kenya has never been able to provide enough commodities. We've never been able to finance the procurement of commodities. And I remember on day one, Professor Kokwaro said that health is the second largest, medicines are the second largest cost driver in the healthcare system after human resources. So this is a big component of cost that we seem to have left it to other people, to the procurement people and other people who may not have the knowledge to get it done properly, because there's a difference between medicines and spare parts. When it comes to human resources for health, we have prepared our pharmacists very well, but they continue to lack the required skills to run an effective supply chain system. Infrastructure, we still continue to have problems in the counties. We don't have enough space to keep our medicines. You all know that if you've been dealing with vaccines, we have a big challenge of cold chain management, and the vaccines, the packaging continues to increase. I don't know why it's getting blacky. In all the other sectors, things are becoming smaller, except in the area of vaccines. They are becoming bigger. So that means the space that was available there in the cold room or in the fridge would need to be expanded to be able to accommodate the increasing size of those products. Again, we have a big problem. We don't have stores. We don't have proper warehouses. We don't even have the right systems to manage those commodities so that we can be able to see them to ensure they don't get lost, they are not misused. Information systems, unfortunately, this is a very sad area because Kenya, unfortunately, does not have a LMIS. And this is a system, something that everyone refutes, but it's the truth. I think the last time we had a LMIS in Kenya was in 2012. After that, Logistics Management Unit, the one which was in KEMSA. After that, we have never established anything else. We have an order management system at KEMSA. And if they have a LMIS, it is for their internal use. but a national LMIS does not exist. So for that reason, we don't know the demand for health commodities in this country. How much does Kenya require? If I were to ask you, how many tablets of paracetamol does Kenya require for a year? Where will you get that information from? You tell me maybe what KEMSA sold last year as a basis, but you will not tell me what the private sector will require. So if I were to be then an investor in this country, how would I do it? I have no way of doing this. I remember when I was doing my fellowship, we were doing forecasting for countries like Vietnam. And you are also doing this for big multinationals and who want to establish new products. And they would ask you, what will be the global demand for this vaccine in the next 5 years or 10 years? And you will be able to project all the way to 20 years. In Kenya here, we have struggled for a long time. We don't have information to be able to do proper demand and supply planning. I think this is an area we need to pick and see what we can do. Nobody has that information. So those are again, that is how then supply chain relates to the other health system strengthening pillars. And I've pointed out the challenges that are there, what we need to do, what we need to think about. Now, then as I come to the end, it's also important for us to ask ourselves why pharmacists matter in pharma supply chains. Why are we saying this is the space for pharmacists? Because they are the best placed to do this work. One, we say that to improve drugs availability, it's to improve drugs availability because they have the knowledge. You know, a pharmacist is trained. They understand issues of stability, parameters, or particular drugs. They know what it means when there's a stock out, for example. If you are dealing with fast-moving consumer goods and your t-shirts have run out, nobody is likely to die. But a stock out for an essential medicine, for example, maybe oxytocin, may result in the loss of life. So a stock out to a pharmacist means much more than to a non-pharmacist. Because the non-pharmacist, mainly those who are doing procurement in our health sector, will always think of commodities the way, I don't think medicines are prioritized more than they would prioritize, for example, tea bags for tea. Sometimes they might even prioritize tea to buying something like magnesium sulfate, which is a life-saving product. So when a pharmacist then is in this space, what it means is that with their knowledge of what lack of a certain commodity would mean, would help them then make the right decisions. Now, we are also saying that supply chains are essential to effective healthcare delivery in all sectors. We all know this in the public, faith-based employer provider services and the private sector. Whenever our people go to hospitals, especially in our rural places, in our public health facilities, the biggest complaint is not that they were not seen by a clinician. We have enough clinicians. They say, I was seen by a clinician and given a prescription. A prescription cannot cure you unless you're able to convert it into medicine that you need. Again, that's why we are saying we need pharmacists at all levels to be able to influence policy in the health sector. Again, when it comes to cost, our people continue to do a lot of out-of-pocket financing. This is common everywhere. And therefore, when you go to a health facility and you don't get medicines, then you realize that that could easily affect the household budget. Because most people, I see in the rural areas where people have to make a decision whether to go to the clinic or go to work. Because any day you spend at the clinic, you are likely not to have food for your children in the evening because you're paying for the work you do that particular day. So really, issues of cost and access very critical, and that's why we need pharmacists, someone who can use the lens of healthcare. Now, well-functioning health supply chains provide provide broad geographical access to affordable, high-quality product. And again, I can't overemphasize this. We are talking about good quality. When patients get medicine that is not good quality, then you know the implications. It increases the cost of healthcare. Perhaps their condition getting worse, or delayed healing process, or even loss of life. So again, my call to pharmacists is please embrace pharmacy, supply chain. This is an area we are not taught. Professor Guantai, I think we need also to see how we can begin to advocate for inclusion of maybe even as a unit, so that the pharmacists have an idea of what supply chain is all about before they are released to the market. Now, some issues that I want us to discuss. Yes, I know I'm going over time. And during the panel, I think we'll be talking about this, what I call the top 10 issues in pharma supply chain. We are talking about lack of coordination. We'll be talking about inventory management. We'll be talking about demand information, human resources, shortage avoidance, expiration, temperature control, shipment visibility, warehouse management, and order management. I listed this one so that the panelists can be prepared to talk about them and tell us how they have impacted this aspect of supply chain, either in their areas of practice or where or in their areas of influence. Finally, is to say some of the initiatives which I think we couldn't do to improve supply chain management. And this one, I've seen it happening. One, we are talking of development of annual forecast and supply plans, so that we have an idea of the demand for commodities, and therefore we can plan for financing. Regular pipeline monitoring and review of supply plans. Why we do this is to ensure that we don't run out and we can make the adjustments within the supply chain. Then issues the new concept of bulk food procurement to achieve economies of scale. There's the pre-qualification of suppliers to reduce supply lead time. In Kenya, public sector takes up to 12 months from the time you order to the time the products are available to the patient or to the end users. Then issues of framework contracts to minimize supply interactions, and then shortening of supply pipeline to minimize quality and price variability. That very last one is very important, because if you look at our supply chain today, moving from upstream to downstream, you realize that variability in price and the quality of products increases downstream. Very high quality products come from the manufacturer, but by the time it gets to the patient, it has degraded and the price has multiplied several times. So that's an issue we need to think about. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Daktari. That was quite informative. I have learned 3 very important points from the presentation. One is that as pharmacists, if there is no medicine, there is no service, there is really little impact you're having on the ground. So you must be able to ensure you have medicines within your premises. 2 is learn the science behind the job. Very important. 3 is take your place. Don't leave your job to others. And medicines are not spare parts. That was my take home from this presentation. So 1, I would like to remind the online participants, if you have any questions, please put them on the chat box. We shall collect all the questions. But meanwhile, I would like to, I don't know if our moderator is here, but if he's not, I'll invite Dr. Mwenda so that he can lead us in the panel section, the panelist session, sorry. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. In supply chain, we deal with uncertainties. So things change and change very abruptly. So I understand that the moderator is unable to join us this morning, and therefore I will be stepping in to fill in those shoes. And I am so happy to see that some of the panelists are already here. I'll call them up here so that we can begin. I think I'll need the mic that can move around with. So we have Dr. Kamamia Wamurisho, please come up. Then Dr. Ivan Sisagwa. Wanjiro Monene will be joining us online. Dr. Sam Nyingi is coming. He's on the way. That's what he has told me. So I hope he'll have arrived before we finish. And then Wairimu Mbogo has just walked in. So, Dr. Adi. Yes. I think we'll get started with the panelists who are here. How much time do you have, Dr. Adi? Okay. Okay. $20 minutes, isn't it? Okay, we have 20 minutes, so we'll make it, we'll try as much as possible to do it quickly. And of course, we won't rush it to leave out any of the critical issues of discussion. This panel is going to talk about the impact of University of Nairobi pharmacists in supply chain management. So we want to hear how they have actually impacted supply chain management, first locally and even globally as applicable. So we will therefore be getting inputs. I think we'll just do one round of questions. And then after that, we will just do a second round if time allows us. But again, as we start, please let the audience know who you are. Just introduce yourself if you want. Don't be like as one day as I was. Yeah, but also don't leave out any critical detail. Yeah. So I think we will start with, I want to start with Dr. Kamamia Wamurisho. Dr. Kamamia Wamurisho, works in a very interesting space because he's the one who ensures that there is access, whether through force or otherwise. People must get medicines at affordable prices. So Dr. Kamamia Wamurisho, you'll explain to us your role in the supply chain in Kenya. You'll also tell us the issues of parallel importation, because that's your specialty, and how this really helps Kenya, and if there are any challenges that you continue to face in this country, and what you're doing about them.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Mwenda. Good morning, everybody. I think I don't require to introduce myself, especially apart the young people. I'm Dr. Kamamia Wamurisho. I'm an alumni at the University of Nairobi. I was a vice chairman of NUPSA, became a chairman of NUPSA, became a vice chairman of PSK, became a chairman of PSK. And then I'm the chairman of the Kenya Pharmaceutical Distributors Association. Been the chairman of the Kenya Pharmaceutical Distributors Association, KPD, since the year 2007. So I know what happens in this. Now, we do what we call parallel importation. And probably I will spend 3 or 4 minutes so that we understand what parallel importation is. Now, Kenya is a signatory to the WTO. This is the World Trade Organization. And in the World Trade Organization, it is the one that sets order on how countries and governments do business, because business must be done in an organized way. Similar way to the way we have the World Health Organization and all those other bodies. Now, the World Health Organization protects the inventors of technology through what we call TRIPS. TRIPS stands for Trade-Related Intellectual Property Rights. When you come with an invention, you require to be protected so that at least you recoup your investments. Now, you all know that in the process of medicine development, the research and development, R&D, is very, very tedious, and the whole process can take almost 20 years. By the time now you come up with a molecule, take it through the development process, the clinical trials, it has to go through FDA approvals and all that. So it becomes a very, very expensive process. So under the WTO, the inventors are normally given 20-year protection. And this is what is known as the patent period. And under the patent period, nobody else can make that product apart from the owner of the invention. But it is then assumed that after 20 years, the owner of that invention will have recouped their R&D costs, and then that technology becomes available for everybody. Before 2005, the patent protection period was 7 years. But after 2005, it was increased to 20 years. Now, after the patent protection, now this is the time now we start having generics coming up. So a drug is going to be protected. It will be the only innovator product. After 20 years, the generics becomes now available because they are now around. But 5 years to that, because of a rule we refer to as a border protection, companies can start stockpiling, waiting for the 20 years to elapse, so that by the time the 20 years have elapsed, the stocks will be available, but they cannot sell those drugs before the 20 years have done that. But under the border exemption, you can start stockpiling 1 year to the end of the patent. Now, in this world, we are classified in regions. We have the least developed countries, the developing countries, and the developed countries. Now, for the developed countries, this is the USA and the Europe, they have the money and they can afford all these technologies. But for the developing countries and the ADCs, they don't have the money. I want to give you the best example, which is very, very fresh in your minds, the COVID vaccine. When the COVID vaccine was developed, you remember we had the Pfizer and all those types of things. In Africa, we could not afford them. But when they came out, well, the first country that was able to benefit from the COVID vaccine were the Americans. It was very, very expensive. So the whole world had to get together through programs, and they look for fathers who are going to pay for the same vaccine to become available in Africa and India. You don't know how people died in India, and the way people died in the way people died in Africa. You also remember that there were some parts, even of France, whereby villages were literally wiped out. So now, because of such scenarios, the World Trade Organization gives exemptions for developing countries that they can be able to access this technology that is on patent because it is required in their countries. Now, for example, I want to come to the anti-cancer drugs, the monoclonal antibodies, which are the latest. They are more specific in action. They have lesser side effects and all those types of things. So you cannot compare them to the phosphorus. These are cyclophosphamides and all those, which have been associated longly with very, very many side effects. So as a developing country, the World Trade Organization allows you through TRIPS to access these technologies that are still under patent process we call parallel importation. So if you look at the WTO and also the WHO, because we are signatories to the WTO agreement or even to the WHO agreement, countries domesticate their laws to be in tandem with those international agreements. We have got other conventions such as the Vienna Conventions and all those types of things. So in the year 2000, Kenya came up with the Kenya Industrial Property Act. And, I do recall people like Professor Guantai, Dr. Moses Mwangi, Dr. Inyangara. You remember, it was read by that lady who was teaching us. Was it by chemistry in Chiromo? She was called Professor who? I think it was Professor Orembo, who read that process in Kenya. We came up with the Kenya Industrial Property Act. And in it, because we're supposed to protect inventions, we came up in section 58, we introduced the clause on parallel importation. Now, parallel importation is also covered under what we call exclusions. Now, you can have local exclusion, regional exclusion, or international exclusion. So the Kenya Industrial Property Act 2000, under section 58, went for international exclusion, meaning that we can cure products on patents from anywhere in the world. If it is America, they go by state exclusion, because these are all conventions. You go to Germany, there's aroused international exclusion. And that's why you see today, this is an Apple iPad. We have the registered agent for Apple in Kenya. In some countries, if you want this Apple iPad, you can only go and buy it from that particular shop. But because Kenya, we allow parallel importation, I can go and buy this Apple iPad from the Apple Center, Mwabera Street, from Misiri, or I can order it from Dubai, if it is a Samsung phone. If you today want a Toyota vehicle, has got the Toyota Kenya as the official agent. If we never had liberalization or this parallel importation, if you wanted a Prado, you can only buy it from Toyota Kenya. And now our rule allows us from I can import the same Toyota Prado from Japan or Singapore or Thailand. Those are rules for that. So now this would at the parallel importation, Kenya Pharmaceutical Distributors Association looks for those markets. For example, I take a company such as GSK. GSK has factories in the UK. It has factories in Australia. It has factories in India, in South Africa, in Egypt. You remember they were here in Kenya, and they left. The cost of production in Egypt, of example, augmenting, will be different in the cost of production of the same augmenting in the UK. Apart from that, in UK, the currency they use is a sterling pound. In the European Union, they use the euro. If you looked at the rate of the euro, is about 158. The rate of the dollar is 130. So if that augmenting, if I was to buy from Switzerland, for example, which is in the European Union, when I go and exchange the currency in Kenya, if they are selling it at €1, I'll buy it at 155. Are you getting that? If I went and bought the same augment in the US they trade in dollar. They are selling to me that one packet of augmentin at $1. I'll buy it at $1. Are you getting that? If I went to India, to UK, and they bought it, I'll buy it at £1. Are you getting that? So it's the same product, but it's a different prices made by the same company. So in summary, at a parallel importation, we look for that example. In those countries, the same augmentin is made by the same GSK, but we look for rate in the countries where it is cheap. So that when we bring it to Kenya, there will be a price advantage. Finally, as we are not involved in costs of marketing, paying medical reps, promotion, and all those types of things, which are normally added by the multinational companies, they are saying. So that now the same augmenting, for example, when I bring in, mine will be 30 to 40 times cheaper than the one that is being sold by the search firm and all that. That's the concept.
So thank you very much, Dr. Omorisho, and I hope the patients get that benefit. You don't pocket all the savings you make. But we shall hear that from the people in the retail sector. I think, Wairimu, when you be speaking, tell us, are you benefiting from this initiative of KPDA to do priority importation in the name of making products more accessible and at a better price? I think you're doing a good job, in my opinion. So, so long as you're not rubbing feathers with some people. And I really don't know about that. Yeah. So now we move to Dr. Wairimu Bogo. I know you've been in the retail for quite a long time, and you're about to share with us how you have impacted supply chain at that point. So please tell us, how is retail? How is it operating? What are the highs in retail today? And how much are you benefiting from what Dr. Omorisho is doing?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. UoN at 50. I would want to introduce myself. My name is Wairimu Bogo, Dr. Wairimu Bogo, class of 2009. So in this panel, all these are my seniors. What I can say about my career is that it has been very dynamic, and I am actually privileged because I don't feel like I have enough experience in the retail, but I have learned a few lessons that I feel that I can share, what has worked and what may not have worked, and some of the considerations that we need to make, because one of the things I believe as pharmacists is that we have to get into that sector whether we like it or not, because we are currently doing 4% pharmacists owning the retail space. So my career has spanned from distribution to the multinational world that Dr. Omorisho alluded to now entrepreneurship. And within the retail sector, what I can say about supply chain is that the first thing you have to do is look at what does optimum stocking look like. Because at the end of the day, in a retail space, whether it's big, whether it's small, the main thing that you're there for is to sell your stock. In as much as we are trying to see how we can commercialize, and I use that word intentionally, commercialize our pharmaceutical services. If you're not able to manage your stock, you're done. So if you're overstocking, if you're understocking, if you're not managing that inventory and having systems around that inventory, you're not going to do much in terms of that retail space. Number two, as you're stocking, so how are you buying your products? So we mainly use systems. Very few people use a manual system, and I still applaud our seniors who started their businesses using the manual systems. I don't know how you guys used to do it, but basically what we do is that we put a markup on the buying price. So once a product gets in, the number one place where we lose supply chain, or where retail is able to lose on supply chain, is at the buying point. If you're spending money and products are not entering your premise to be sold, you're losing money. So you have to make sure that there are controls within that whole sector to make sure that your purchasing of your stock, number one, is from legitimate suppliers. So sometimes we know that it's a parallel import can come or it may not come, but the benefit to the patient depends on the price that is from the distributor. Areas where there are supply chain risks at that point of entry into your premise is where the owner is not in control of the products that are coming into their premise. So if you have several branches, the one thing that I have learned is that the procurement aspect has to be centralized. So you have to figure out how to centralize that procurement process. Do not leave people to just buy as and when they want to buy the products and how they come in. Once you centralize that procurement system, is when now you can manage now your stock internally based on regulatory standards that we have. We all know. That means you're looking at your expiries. You're able to arrange your shelf in a way that you can tell that fast expiry, fast out is coming in. You're able to manage your cold chain. You're buying at the right price. Always compare pricing. And even my challenge to the younger colleagues is find a way of having a platform where pharmacies don't have to manually call all suppliers to get the right price. So for example, if I'm buying product A, I don't have to call like 5 suppliers to save 10 shillings. So can you imagine if my weekly order list has about 200 products? It means that I am wasting so much time, 200 minutes just figuring out who to buy from at the right price. In that process, there's also the financing of your stock. You need to make sure that your financing does not go beyond your margins. And I'm taking just this opportunity to just talk about almost everything from a supply chain because I might not get another opportunity. So you have to figure out, once you figure out your optimal stock, so how much can the money that you have afford you? And how much can you borrow at what percent from who, so that you're able to sell your stock and also make a little bit of money for profit and also to cover your expenses. Right now, another emerging trend in the retail space that we have to make considerations for is the last mile delivery to the patient. How are we making sure that when you remove the insulin from your pharmacy and it's going to a patient at home, probably because everyone now is buying things online, how do you make sure that that supply chain system has integrity and that there's no interference? How do you also make sure that when that product gets to the patient where they have gone, that it gets in the right form, that you do not give a rider and then they decided to do 10, 20 deliveries before they got to your patient's home. Also, in terms of the last mile delivery from a supply chain perspective, is how do you ensure that instructions are embedded in your last mile delivery to your patient? That is in line with ensuring safe practices. So for us, one of the things that we have probably done is that we do very detailed instructions, but we do not assume that when you get your medicine that you understand that detailed instructions. We follow up. The other thing we have started doing with our antibiotics, and it's because we sort of have a passion for AMR, we call you on day 3. So if you come to us and you come with a prescription or you've been prescribed for antibiotics, we call you on day 3 to make sure that that you are going to finish your dose, basically. And I feel like that is also a supply chain aspect. Something that we will need to think about, and I think it would be a passion project if I am voted in as president of PSK, is waste management. So we decided to test out telling our patients, just bring us your expiry medicines, where people are holding cartons of expired or medicine that they cannot use in their homes. So how do we make sure that from a supply chain perspective that we are now helping reduce or manage that waste in terms of safety for our patients from a retail perspective? It's something that work in progress. I feel that I know experts, we will sit and deliberate on how to manage that, but I believe with the small cohort that I have worked with, that is a huge problem. And the rest is just to ensure that you're compliant. Just make sure that you have the right staff at the pharmacy, that you're communicating the right way to your patients, just to make sure that by the time the the medicine gets finished or is consumed, that care that has been taken from importation or from manufacturing, that the patient is able to receive a product that has good integrity, and that you are part of the team that is going to be responsible for that. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think we want to wish you all the best in your endeavor to become the PSK president. If we get time, we'll be asking you also to tell us how you're ensuring there's patient confidentiality so that Veranda does not get to a corner and then open to see what drugs you have dispensed to the patient. Okay, so we move on, and now I want us to, we've been talking about quality all along. Now we want to hear from the expert himself how he has impacted in the area of quality assurance in this country. Tell us the big things you have done for Kenya, the big things you've done for the rest of the world, so that we can see how the pharmacists from the University of Nairobi have really impacted issues of quality assurance in the pharma sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mwenda. Yes, I'm a proud alumnus of University of Nairobi School of Pharmacy. My name is Dr. Ivan Sagwa. And while I was at the university, I was also NUPSA chairman. So Mwenda was my classmate, and he was the class rep. On the program, there are also a few other colleagues. I just want to single them out so that you may know my cohort. Apart from Dr. Mwenda, there is Dr. Patrick Borwet. I think he has a session later today. And on the first day, on Thursday, we had Dr. Simon Muigai, who's an industrial pharmacist. My journey, briefly, before I go on the subject, was an interesting one. You know, yesterday, I think we saw from Dr. Louis Mashogu that the journey, sometimes it's not clear at the beginning. But when you pause and then you trace back, then you see, oh, so this is the pattern, and this is the what you worked. And for others, as Dr. Meli, was saying yesterday, you kind of try to forcefully chart your path forward. I tend to have been more towards Dr. Meli's side because my journey, I believe I have kind of forcefully charted it. As NUPSA chair, that tells you I was interested in aspects of management. And one day, an occasion, just a brief occasion like this one, we had a short presentation by a colleague, and they talked about pharmaceutical management. That time, management sciences for health was just coming in, and the framework that Dr. Mwenda has shown us about supply chain management from selection, procurement, distribution, use is a framework that was developed by Management Sciences for Health and World Health Organization. So I got intrigued, and immediately after my first job, I worked at Nairobi Hospital. I enrolled for my master in business administration at University of Nairobi. At that time, University of Nairobi had just started the parallel program. And I was privileged I was very young that time. You remember, just 1 year. In fact, I squeezed myself through because you needed to have 2 years. I was amongst the youngest in that group. Dr. Itotia was talking of asking 14 days after being on the job. Mine was 0. The moment I reported to Nairobi Hospital, I asked my manager that I want to be released in the evenings to be going for classes, and thanks to God, that happened. So fast forward, I got into, after management training, I started getting into pharmaceutical management, and my expertise right now, I can call myself as a pharmaceutical management expert. I supplemented that with public health when I got opportunities to work out of the country, and later on a PhD in pharmaceutical policy and regulation from the Netherlands. So that is briefly my journey. I focus on applying pharmaceutical management principles and practices in assuring quality of products. So I'll focus on that, because if we were to talk more, we might not do well on time. But there's more that I can share. So I just want to zero in. The few countries that those of you who know me associate me with is, of course, Kenya, my home country, Rwanda, and Namibia. In Rwanda, I helped to put in place hospital management systems at the hospital that I was chief pharmacist for, King Faisal Hospital. And one of the biggest challenges was this was a premier hospital, and President Kagame wanted a hospital that he can maybe utilize to inspire investors. Remember the journey that Rwanda has gone through. So investors could come in the country, but they ask the president, what if I collapsed here? By the time I'm airlifted to Nairobi or to Kampala, maybe I'm no more. So it was really important that a premier institution be established in Kigali. So in his wisdom, he hired very good skills from across the world. So I was fortunate to be amongst those who are hired to set up systems at the King Faisal Hospital. And I'm told recently when I was there, those systems that I helped or contributed to establishment, they are still being utilized because, thank you, because of the premier nature of the care that the institution is providing. Then I got an opportunity. I mentioned about management sciences for health. I got an opportunity to work for management sciences for health, and I was posted to Windhoek in Namibia. And I've spent quite a number of years in Windhoek. So it's my second home. And one of the things that I noticed as a management consultant and an expert in pharmaceutical systems was the lack of human resources to sustain the pharmaceutical system service delivery in Namibia, because the country was relying on South Africa to train their pharmacists. They had also a technician or a certificate program at the equivalent of MTC. It was called the Pharmacy Assistant Training Program, but it was churning out just about 7 or so students per year. So relying on the masses of South Africa to train you and a few other countries was not sustainable. So one of the interventions that I recommended to the leadership in the country was to establish a school of pharmacy. And that, after a lot of persuasion, got the ear of the founding father, His Excellency the late Sam Nujoma, and he said, let's go ahead with that proposal. It was working very well because also the medical colleagues wanted a school of medicine, and you won't believe it, the person who was leading the School of Medicine initiative was Professor Nyarango, a Kenyan. I think he might have been with the Dr. Professor Kigen at Moi University School of Medicine. So we combined forces, and we were given a very short time. I remember when I went to the VC's office, the VC looked at me and said, you need a CV. I mean, you need to have a curriculum in 18 months, and we have nothing. Are you going to pull this through? I'm very strong in project management. I used to serve in PSK during those days, and you know, this voluntarism helps you. So the pressure you get in making things happen, I utilized that one, and we were able to have the curriculum developed in time for submission to the academic committee and the Senate. And in short, that program was finally established and launched by His Excellency Sam Nujoma. It is running right now. There's a fully fledged School of Pharmacy. During that process, I interacted. We got support from University of Nairobi here, and we are really proud that as an alumnus of University of Nairobi, we have helped our sister nation to have a School of Pharmacy that now trains up to PhD level. A core component of that curriculum is supply chain management, as you were saying. Then a few things. Maybe let me summarize about quality assurance by making or drawing some lessons actually from God. God is a master creator or designer and creator of systems. And when I look at biological systems and apply them to our practice, I find a lot of wisdom from God. Without products, as you had, you'll not be able to render healthcare services. And we have seen that even recently when the US government stopped programs. One of the few programs that have been allowed to continue operating are supply chain related programs. So if you imagine that a supply chain is like the circulatory system, you begin to see the importance of a supply chain to a health system. The same way that the circulatory system is important to a biological system of the human body because it supplies, distributes, and delivers essentials to body cells so that they can survive. So we can imagine maybe body cells are the patients and the clients that need the services. The other beautiful thing from systems thinking and from the wisdom of God is that within the supply chain is also another important system, the immune system. And if you recall, the phagocytes who are part of the cellular immune system, they identify and get rid of those elements that are circulating that are not good. So in the same way, quality assurance identifies products that are suspicious, that may not be good, and removes them from the circulation, from the supply chain, so that they don't end up to reaching the patient. So therefore, if you take a bigger systems view, quality assurance and quality management encompasses all that is done from the beginning to the end of our product along the journey that it moves on the supply chain. So most recently, I've worked as a regional director for a USAID-funded program implemented by United States Pharmacopoeia covering Eastern and Southern Africa, where I've been helping various countries in the region to strengthen their quality management systems, whether at manufacturing level, whether at supply chain level, implementing procurement, good distribution and storage practices, or even at procurement level, implementing the model quality assurance scheme that WHO recommends. And then lastly, strengthening regulatory systems, because quality requires an aspect of regulation. So you cannot enforce quality if you have a weak regulatory system. So it's on that point that I've been working very closely, for example, with Pharmacy and Poisons Board and other regulatory agencies in the region, Rwanda, Malawi, Mozambique, Lesotho, Eswatini. And what I'm really proud of is some of the countries have not had regulatory systems and have helped to establish those regulatory authorities in some of the countries like Lesotho. So I'll stop there. As I said, I mean, when you have this wealth of experience, you can talk on for long, but let me stop there. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. I think this panel needed about 3 hours. It's okay, but I did. We have to give way. But we have one panelist on the online whom we could allow just like 2 minutes. It's not possible. Okay, so that was Banjiro Munene. Okay, fine. Then I must thank my team. A few minutes. Okay, Dr. Winnie, if you can hear me, please, we'll give you around 2 minutes. Just tell us, talk about the opportunities and how you're impacting supply chain, especially in the space for HPTs.
Great, thank you, Dr. Riungu. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yeah, sure.
Great, thank you. So good morning. Pleasure to be in this symposium, and thanks to all the organizers. My name is Dr. Wanjiru Munene. I graduated from University of Nairobi in 2008. So it's been a solid 17 years in the market doing various things. I'll just speak on the last stint. Currently work for InSupply Health. As Dr. Riungu said, he was one of the founding members of that organization. It's an affiliate of John Snow Inc., an American firm. Established initially for the legacy 3 burden of diseases, HIV, malaria, and TB in terms of HPTs. But now we are also considering other disease programmatic areas like family planning, also NCDs, non-communicable diseases, and also reproductive maternal newborn child health programming. So I lead the market access and shaping domain, where we are looking at innovative ways of delivering care to clients and patients beyond the public healthcare systems. And some of the work we've been doing is with community private sector pharmacies and leveraging them and exploring them to be also service delivery points for health products and technologies, including family planning, newborn, maternal, newborn health products. So our key thing is that we work with governments and to update and to revise policies so that we can give agencies to community pharmacies to also provide expanded care, including providing things like injections when you think about family planning, vaccinations, but also now we are exploring how they can participate in HIV, both PEP and PrEP. So policies are required to give agencies to the pharmacists to play in this space. But beyond that, it's looking at guidelines and curricula. So we work very closely with the ministry to also develop or update those curricula so that they can fit the needs of the pharmacies. And then on top of that, we work very closely also with the Pharmacy and Poisons Board to look at how we differentiate the pharmacies who have upskilled in these expanded roles. So designating them as either FP providers, RH providers, HIV providers in the community. And this is, first of all, to just recognize the shifting in the donor environment. And what we want to make sure is that they still are service delivery points for clients who are able and willing to pay. But beyond that, it's also negotiating and working very closely with global players and partners like donors, development partners, as well as manufacturers to make sure even as a product comes through the private sector channel, that they are still affordable. They are not priced out of range for the clients who need to access them in these service delivery points. So that's in a nutshell, my role in market access and shipping. I could say more, but I recognize that we are far spent on time. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't thank you enough. Asanteni sana. Wamulisho, continue doing the good job. Sagwa, supporting the whole of Africa, and Wairimu shaping the retail sector. Thank you very much. And the audience, thank you for being awesome. Thank you, Winnie. Thank you, everyone else.
Thank you so much to the panelists and to Dr. Riungu, even for taking up the role of moderator for today. For any questions, please forward them. We shall figure out how to address the same. I want to invite Dr. Mwangi. He wants to give a small announcement before now we go for the health break. All of you are invited for tea. But I'll let Dr. Mwangi first say something small.
Thank you very much. And let's appreciate those panelists. For those who are in-house, as you have already been informed, including our students, we all go for tea together. All of you are invited for tea. Today is a special day. Number two, the 2 p.m. session must be 2 p.m. because we have Kansas universities and they have different time zones. So I request the next 2 sessions, the facilitators, to please try and keep within so that we can have our lunch break at 1. That means it will be squeezed. Tea is going to be for 20 minutes, not 30 minutes. And lastly, but not the least, the UoN at 50 Golden Jubilee celebrations. The Symposium and other activities, you must book 1st of August. You'll have a grad dinner somewhere where we shall be able to celebrate different people who have achieved different things and also be able to do the launch of the history book and the constitution of the Alumni Association. All these activities are funded by us as alumni members. So I want to urge you, if you are from the University of Nairobi, you are a graduate and have not registered to be a member of the Alumni Association, please do so. Pay that 3,000 shillings, 2,000 plus 1,000. Registration is 2,000, then 1,000 for this year, and annual 1,000. It is helping us. Number two, some of our members have been generous. We still need some more generosity. If you can give us 5,000 shillings, 10,000 shillings, 15, 20, whatever you can, it will go a long way in helping us sort out some of the bills. And then we have a coffee mug, which is a good souvenir. University of UoN Pharmacy School at 50, celebrating excellence in pharmacy practice, pharmacy training and practice, 1974 to 2024. And a lifelong board, that is what we are. Pick a mug out here at 1,000 shillings. You will also be helping us fund. And we also have similarly labeled t-shirts. The t-shirt is there, and they come in 3 colors, white, blue, and maroon. It's a good one to use on your jog and as you walk on the beach. And this is 1,000 shillings. One is 1,000 shillings. I really don't want to go back with these t-shirts or to keep them in the office. Please make sure you pick one. And there's a polo shirt. Also, they are in 3 colors. And it's 1,500. A very good one. Professor Keegan. Oh, yes, he's wearing one. Thank you very much. Hey. Okay. You can buy 3, by the way, those of you who enjoy. Please. And with that, shall we be up and standing? And as you walk out, we have a distinguished member of our alumni, the only one who took up the exhibition stand. We had 10. And we've asked them to come nearer. So they are here. So please make sure you visit. And thank you very much. Shall we have grace for the tea? Father, we thank you for the morning session and keeping us alert, and all those following online as we receive a cup of tea now. May you bless it in Jesus' name. Amen.